Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me here. First of all, it means I can still pass for young despite the whitening of my beard. And second, I'm really, really happy to be today with you. I'm an ecologist from the University of Molise. Nobody knows where Molise is, not even in Italy. Molise is up there, and we are from the university. This is our place among the mountains in central southern Italy. And I am a friend with people from the University of Valladolid since 3 years now, because we were doing some Erasmus together. You can see here some images from Portugal, and then last year people from Valladolid and from other parts of Europe reached us in central Italy, in Molise, and it was a very beautiful experience also to meet people from this university, this institution. So now, coming to the presentation that I'm going to show you today, which is going to be about the dieback of Olmok forest in southern Italy. I think that everybody is aware that last year was the first year since we passed the 1.6 threshold of temperature above the pre-industrial level. And you can see the orange line, this plot showing the temperature, the trend in temperature. And we can see there 2025 is promising to be another very interesting and hot year for all of us. And already in May last year, we can see this map showing the drought condition across Europe. And we can see that even in May, in early spring, there was a very severe drought condition, especially in Mediterranean Europe, so including vast areas of Spain as well. Now, during last summer, we started to observe in Italy this phenomena of dieback in very thermoxerophilous forests like Olmok forest. These images are from Sardinia, which is one of the main islands in Italy, a very large island. And this triggered in us, from our department, the idea of starting to work on this phenomenon as well. And you know that Quercus ilex is an evergreen oak. It's very drought tolerant, and so basically it's kind of a last frontier between a Mediterranean forest and other type of Mediterranean ecosystems like scrubland, which are even more xerophilous and drought tolerant. So it's very interesting to understand that when the Olmok forest dies back, it's a clear sign of alarm. So we observe a similar phenomenon also in the Gargano. The Gargano is a part of Apulia. It is a region very close to Molise. You can see the arrow there pointing. It's a very nice landscape. There is a very important national park there. And like other parts of Europe, there is a very large area covered by Olmok forest. And we physically observed the dieback also in those forests, and we decided to start and investigate in the process. We observed that this phenomenon was also happening in Aleppo pine forests, which are usually more present across the coast in the Gargano, but they go also a bit inland in this part of Italy. You can see here some images of Aleppo pine trees died along the coast. Now, this is a trend for temperatures from March to September in the Gargano area in the last 6 years, just to give you a reference. And you can see that in 2024, it's the first time that we can see in this record that the mean average temperature, the mean temperature was above the threshold of 30 degrees. So it was fairly hot. When we put together also the data on precipitation, we can see that the trend could look like years before, like 2021, but in 2024 it was very dry and it was also incredibly hot. So it was kind of a perfect storm for the vegetation. So we decided to start working on this problem, and I want to stress that the results that I'm giving you are very preliminary. We are still working on this, and we started working on this by means of remote sensing. So this is an idea to give you a bit the framework where we are working. This is an image from Google Earth engine of the area, just a small snippet. You can see the green part there is the Quercus ilex forest, then there is Quercus cerris forest as well, and other parts of the landscape. It's very important to know something about topography because the Gargano is a very special topography. I will not go too much deep into that, but it's the topographic factor is very important regulating this type of forest distribution. So we started by selecting a test area, for now a fairly small area, 6,000 hectares, and in this area we identified by means of remote sensing and photo interpretation the distribution of the Olmok forest, which is the one in bright green here, and the Pinus alepensis forest in this part. The Quercus ilex was the vast majority, 1,700 hectares, and then the Pinus alepensis around 200 hectares. Now let's zoom a bit on a part to make you understand what we did so far. First of all, we extracted by means of the Sentinel-2 mission the data for computing the NDVI, which is one of the most famous indexes that you can get from remote sensing, and high values of NDVI approaching 1, meaning healthy vegetation, and lower values going to 0 or even less than 0, meaning vegetation that has died back or other type of land uses like water, ice, and things like that. Now you can see here the images from May from last year, and most of the Olmok part is in bright blue colors, meaning that the vegetation was really healthy. And then if we go to August, you can see that some parts lost a lot of color, so it means that the NDVI was going a lot down. So starting from this general framework, we extracted for all the pixels into our image the values of the NDVI for all the available images, and then we computed a simple linear regression, and we focused on the slope of the regression line when it was significant. You can see in this example, this is just an example, that the value of the slope of 0.0023 means that the NDVI was decreasing in a significant way by approximately 0.0023 units per day. So this is a sharp decreasing in NDVI. So this is our main preliminary results. You can see in this map, the areas which are in black, they are not significant. We focus only on the parts where we had a significant slope, a significant change in slope. And you can see that the vast majority of the area is reddish, yellowish color, meaning that there is a significant decrease in NDVI in these areas. So this is already an interesting result, but of course we wanted to understand why this is happening. And so we, first of all, I'll give you some results, apologies. We saw that about 800 hectares of Olmok forest and 350 hectares of Aleppo pine forest showed a significant decrease in NDVI between April and August 2024. That's reasonably a large amount, and you can see that there is also some parts that show a significant increase, but this is probably some other parts that were, for instance, Quercus cherries forest, which is not an evergreen plant, so it's fairly sure that the NDVI increases in that case. This is probably due to some problems in the photo interpretation and things like that. And in absolute terms, we can see that the Olmok forest was less interested in this area from this process, while the Aleppo pine was more interested. So most of the area with Aleppo pine was interested by this decrease in NDVI. Now, coming back to a preliminary explanation of this process, we use a random forest regression, which is very robust in this type of data, managing very large data set with a cross-validation. And we process our slopes against some data from topography, elevation, slope, aspect, topographic position index, and then some data about the land surface temperature, in particular the standard deviation of the land surface temperature and the percentage of days where the land surface temperature was exceeding a critical threshold of 35 degrees, which is a temperature above which the Olmok starts to really suffer. Here we can see the R-squared, the predictive R-squared in this case, from the random forest model, which looks a bit not so high, but actually on this very large data set it's a reasonably good R-squared. And we can see the variable importance which comes out from the random forest. So we can see that The most important variable in this case was the elevation, the DIM, and then the data about the land surface temperature. We can see the partial dependence plot to try and explain the effects of these single variables on the decrease in NDVI. This is for the elevation. We can clearly see that between 600 meters and 400 meters, you have a sharp decrease in NDVI. So basically, all the areas which were reasonably above 600 meters in elevation were fairly safe, and everything that was below 400 meters was in the same sinking ship, let's select that. And for the standard deviation on the land surface temperature, we can see that between 8 and 10 degrees standard deviation, this leads to a sharp decrease in NDVI, which is less pronounced as we go to higher standard deviations. This is the percentage of the days exceeding 35 degrees, and we can see a similar trend where basically a critical threshold at 40%. After that, the effect is less pronounced. This is about aspect. This is quite easy to understand. Basically, we can see that all the slopes which are facing south are more affected by this sharp change in NDVI. This does not come like big surprise. And then also for the slope, we can see here these slopes are in degrees, and basically we can see a quite linear trend in decreasing NDVI with the slope. So the steeper the slope, the more we saw this process happening. So to sum up this preliminary data that I've been showing you on this fairly small so far test area that we used, we identified an area which was containing 1,700 hectares of old-oak forest and 200 hectares of Aleppo pine. The majority of the area covered by the Aleppo pine showed a significant decrease in NDVI between April and August 2024, while for the old-oak this percentage was about half of the total forest cover. Over 400 hectares of old-oak forest exhibited a moderate to intense decrease in NDVI. And this decrease can be attributed to a combination of topographic variables and thermal stress, with elevation and surface temperature variability determining a critical effect in this case. What we are going to do as a future development, first of all, we will assess the effectiveness of standardized cartographic tools like Corinne Land Cover or Carta della Natura, which is a land use map available for most regions in Italy, to scale up our approach to the whole Garganeo area and also other areas like Sardinia, for instance, because we did photo interpretation in this case, but that's very time intensive and also user dependent. So we are trying to look and see if we can rely on standardized cartographic tools. We will integrate for sure additional remote sensing products such as evapotranspiration, and we will use the EcoStress satellite, which has these functions built in. And one thing that we are very interested for the future is assess the resilience of this ecosystem. So we are already collecting the images for the after August, basically, and we will see until the beginning of the next heat wave if there is some patches of the forest which are growing back, and then what we are going to do lastly is make some field surveys to assess what type of forest variables are affecting patches which are coming back or which are dying out completely. And we will also employ UAVs to have a finer scale resolution and also to assess smaller topographic variables which could influence our phenomenon. Now I would like to thank you again. I'm leaving you a QR code for our lab, MBIX lab in the University of Molise. And as I told you, these are preliminary results. I am an ecologist, not a forest scientist per se, so I'm very open to discussion and integration about our approach. And I thank you again very much.